Hi, everyone. Welcome to On the Horizon. I am Sarah Kramer. I am your host. We are back after a couple of months. We have some exciting new stuff for you on the horizon. But today we are starting with South Korea. I am so excited to share more about South Korea with you and what our partnership with South Korea and Kern Downey looks like. Today, we are joined by Vanessa, who is our Asia product manager, and then also Patrice Henry, who is the marketing manager over at Korea Tourism Organization here in the United States. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what luxury travel in South Korea looks like. And then at the end, you'll be able to ask some questions. So we hope you enjoy. Vanessa, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
All right, well, tell us a little bit more about South Korea. We're all super excited. I personally have never been. Vanessa has traveled there. It seems like a lifetime ago because of everything that's happened since then, but it wasn't. It was not that long ago.
No,
so,
it was just back in 2019. Yeah, and Patrice and I went together.
Share
it was
a little bit more
time.
about that with us, and then Patrice, y'all just go ahead and get started.
All right, sounds great. Yeah, so Patrice and I met in the spring of 2019 when the Korea Tourism Organization hosted a FAM trip, which is an educational trip for travel agents and tour operators. We saw a bunch of really great sites, had a lot of wonderful food, and we had just a really great time. And so I'm very excited to talk today about South Korea for our audience, and I hope you are too, Patrice.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Vanessa. Like I said, like Vanessa said, we met and it was an amazing experience in South Korea, and we're here to tell you all about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get started. We're going to talk first a little bit about where South Korea is located. So as you can see here on this map, it's kind of on the peninsula itself is on the northeastern coast of Asia between China and Japan. It's surrounded by the East and West Seas, and we're going to be talking only about South Korea today. Kern Downey doesn't sell travel to North Korea, so I just wanted to make sure that's clear in case either of us says just the word Korea, we're talking about South Korea. So it's the southern part of the peninsula, and it's separated from mainland Asia by the DMZ, and then North Korea to the north of that. And it's also really easy to access Japan from South Korea. So if you wanted to do a combo journey, we can definitely help you guys with that. So we'll go on to the next slide here and look at the country itself. You can see it's divided up into several different states. The population there, 50 million people. It's a lot of people, right? And as we discovered, Seoul, which is the capital, is a huge population of 10 million people. It's a very, very big city, wasn't it? Yeah, and so Korean obviously is the national language, but Korean schools do teach English, right, to the young people there. And so English is widely spoken in some of the touristic areas. And also we found that a lot of signage was posted also in English, so it's easy to understand for us there. So yeah, let's talk now about just like a little bit of the basics. So as it says up here, there's no visa required for US citizens if they're only staying for 90 days. So 90 days is a little bit long for one of our trips, but you can definitely, you don't have to worry about getting any visas in advance, which makes it a really great and very accessible place. The currency is the won, and it's roughly on average about 1,100 won to the US dollar, but major credit cards are accepted everywhere, so you don't have to take lots and lots of cash with you. And I think one thing that a lot of our clients are very happy about is that there's no tipping really required. It's not really part of the Korean culture, but of course it's accepted at hotels for porters, and also if you have a driver or a guide who just goes above and beyond and you just really want to express your gratitude, that's perfectly fine. Patrice, do you want to talk a little bit about like how safe Korea is to travel to? Yeah.
Right. Korea is a very safe country. No crimes. And throughout Korea, at all of the tourist attractions, we have the tourist police. And if you have, they're there with their smiles and friendly faces. If you have any questions pertaining to restaurants, you know, activities, tours, they're there to help you. So Korea is indeed a very, very safe country.
Yeah, I think our guide who took us around Korea when we were there mentioned that she's never felt safer anywhere else in the world. She said that she's fine walking around alone at night in the dark and does not feel scared or intimidated by anything. So that's something to really keep in mind. That's not true of a lot of destinations. So it's great that Korea is one of those. It's also, the infrastructure there is amazing. The bullet trains or the KTX express train system is really wonderful. And there's lots of really great airports, including Incheon Airport, which is the main access point to most Americans. Really huge, really beautiful facility. And I think if you have any kind of layover while you're there, or if you have to wait a little while for your international flight to depart, you will never be bored. There's so much to do.
And just to add to that, Vanessa, the internet service is amazing.
It really is. Yeah, it's some of the fastest internet speeds in the world. So if you are somebody who needs to be connected at all times, you will not have a problem with that in South Korea. So let's talk a little bit about the seasons there. I'm always really impressed because I live in Texas and I only really have 2 seasons. So I'm always impressed by destinations that have 4 distinct seasons. And Patrice, let's talk. What are your thoughts about like the best times during these seasons to travel?
Well, you know, Vanessa, I always say any time is great to travel. It depends on what the traveler wants. Okay. But typically, April, spring, and fall, those are always the best times to travel, visit to Korea. During the springtime, this is the time when the flowers are in bloom. And on your screen, you have cherry blossoms, right?
Yes.
And so Korea is plastered with hues of pink cherry blossoms, especially in the city of Gyeongju. And then summer, although summer is very hot, it's the hottest time of the year. Many people travel to the coast, cities like Busan, you know, home of the famous Haeundae Beach, and the southern holiday island of Jeju, which we're going to talk about more. But definitely spring and fall are the best times to travel to Korea.
Yeah, I think that I've seen lots and lots of stunning photos of the fall foliage in Korea, and I would definitely love to get back there during that time. I think just those beautiful leaf colors that you can see there in that photo down below is just absolutely amazing. And I'm a bit of a snow bunny, so I actually do like snowy destinations. I'd probably have fun there in the wintertime, but it's a really, there is a lot of snow, especially in northern parts of the country. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're looking for kind of a Christmassy destination. It's definitely very picturesque. So let's talk about getting to South Korea. Most clients are going to fly into Incheon Airport, which is I'd say it's about 45 minutes from Seoul. Is that about right?
That's correct.
45 minutes to an hour. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a huge, massive airport with lots and lots of facilities, plenty of lounges if you're a business class or first class flyer. And let's talk about the airlines that can get you there. Obviously, there's Korean Air. And where does Korean Air fly out of in the US?
Chicago, right here out of New York, Chicago, New York, DFW, and we also have Asiana.
Yes, yeah.
And we have most of the gateways out of the US. So it's quite a very lengthy list. So Vanessa, that I'll have to send over to you.
Absolutely.
Because the schedules have changed especially due to COVID.
Of course, yeah. But we'll see lots more flights going there, I'm sure, as the world continues to open
hopefully
back
later
up.
this year. We're hoping for that, Vanessa.
That's great. And I think I flew American on the way there. And that was it was a very seamless journey. I stopped in LA and then flew right on to Incheon, and it was really great. So there's lots of options, especially if you are a fan of any of the US based airlines. But Korean Air is always going to be my number one.
And also Delta
Yes,
Airlines,
Delta.
don't forget that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So Seoul is obviously up in the northern part of South Korea, and then that's going to be your access point for the rest of the country. It's kind of geographically kind of a smaller country, so it's easy to get around to the different destinations. So Jeju Island, which we were talking about earlier, is only an hour flight from outside of Seoul. And then also you can reach Busan, which is one of the other major cities in South Korea. Either driving is, I think it's about 4 hours, 3.5 to 4 hours drive, or you can take the really lovely KTX bullet train, and that's only about 2.5 hours. So that's really great. And then Gyeongju, which is there on the right here, that is about a little less than an hour from Busan. So, and that's definitely a site I would recommend including. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, so let's talk now about the major destinations in South Korea. Obviously, we're starting here with Seoul, which you can see is a very, very metropolitan area. And as we said earlier, 10 million people live here. Very packed with people, lots of fun, lots of cultural activities to do. Feel free at any point to interject any of your favorite things to do in any of these places. So it's also home to a lot of Fortune 500 companies, including, I think, Hyundai, Samsung, LG, and a bunch of other different brands that you're probably all very familiar with. So the infrastructure here for tourism is also very well developed because lots of people have to visit for business purposes. So there's lots of really wonderful hotels that we can recommend to our clients. I was really impressed by the fact that there's 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites within the city itself. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Patrice?
Yes, they're actually not just that, but there are 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites throughout Seoul. I always say Seoul is so vibrant, and it's a city that pretty much never sleeps. I find another fascinating feature about Seoul is that there are 5 royal palaces in Seoul. So you can pretty much leave your hotel and you can walk right into Gyeongju Palace, which is right in the heart of Seoul. So 5 major palaces, and also from hidden gems to over 30 Michelin star restaurants. Vanessa, I'm not too sure if you knew that.
30 that's a lot.
Right. So Seoul is one of the world's most dynamic, exciting destinations for high-end culinary discovery. So it's definitely a must.
And it's also amazing for shopaholics. A lot of our clients do love to travel just to go shopping. There's
shopping,
so
you will not
much.
Be disappointed.
Absolutely. Just from luxury brands, luxury spa brands, there's something really for everyone there in Seoul.
Yes.
And it's also really great for history buffs too. As Patrice was saying, with the 5 royal palaces, there's just so many sites to explore and learn about. And it's also, I just wanted to quickly mention, it is the best place from which travelers can do a day trip to the DMZ, which was something that we got a chance to do while we were there. It's definitely something I recommend. It really is something that you should experience firsthand because it's the only DMZ in the world that tourists can visit. So let's move on then to—
And the festivals, Vanessa, the festivals, there are endless festivals throughout the year. And in April, springtime, we celebrate the Lake Cherry Blossom Festival.
Yeah.
And the Seoul International Fireworks Festival in fall. So,
oh, wow, fantastic.
Festivals, yes, yes.
So moving on down south, we're going to Busan, which is a port city. And it's honestly, if you are a seafood lover, this is where you can get some of the best and freshest seafood in the world. I highly recommend visiting here just for that purpose. But also, there's a lot of, as you mentioned earlier, there's some really gorgeous beaches here, including Haeundae, and then I think Gwangali is another really famous one. They're absolutely beautiful. You would expect them to be with as rocky and mountainous as it is here. You would expect them to be rocky, but they're not. They're lovely, just sandy beaches, and they're just really great places to spend an afternoon and get a little sunbathing in.
Yes.
This is also, Busan is also where the world's only UN Memorial Cemetery is located. And that's also another really important historical site that I definitely recommend. It's very beautiful and very moving. And we got to tour it with a local Korean man who, was just a child during the war. And he has spent his life educating people on Korean history. It was just a really lovely experience. It's also home to what's pictured here, which is Gamcheong Cultural Village, which is just gorgeous, as you can see. It's sometimes called the Machu Picchu of Busan because of the way that it was structured to have the houses built up on a hill. And it's just absolutely a fantastic place. It's so brightly colored because of, was it in 2009 that there was a kind of a renewal project?
Yes.
And that's what has created this beautiful vista that you see here. There's lots of little shops. A lot of people still live here actively, but there's lots of little artist shops, and there's a lot of street art that you can explore while you're there as well, which I thought was a lot of fun.
And the food.
Oh gosh, the food was fantastic. It was not just because I am a big seafood fan, but I am. But yeah, there's so much to do there. Do you know if there's a lot of Michelin-starred restaurants here in Busan too?
Quite a few also. I don't know how many, but yes, there are quite a few in Busan.
Another fun thing we did here was go visit the Jagalchi fish market, which is one of the largest seafood markets in the world, I think.
Yes,
and
it is.
My goodness, it was fascinating to see everything just laid out in front of us, all these different kinds of fish and seafood. It was just a lot of fun. Let's move on now to our next destination, which is Gyeongju. And this place was my favorite.
It was my favorite also, Vanessa.
I absolutely, I recommend everyone include a stop in Gyeongju, at least for a day trip from Busan. Really, just a really fantastic place. It's full of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. I've actually lost count of how many there are there. But one of my favorites was Bulguksa Temple, which was just absolutely gorgeous, brightly colored like you see here, and just so fantastic and fascinating, especially for art and architecture buffs. There was a site here also, and you'll have to forgive me, I'm very sorry if I say it incorrectly, but Seokguram Grotto.
You're good, yes.
Yeah, I got it. And that's a really fantastic site, especially for active and fit individuals who want to do a little hiking up to see a really beautiful, spectacular site. What were your favorite things when we were here in Gyeongju?
I did enjoy the Bulguksa temple. That time there, learning about the history, the culture. I really felt, at peace here. And just so you know, Gyeongju is actually recognized as the historical city by the government, right? And even like every year, the festivals, the Sila Cultural Festival to promote the excellence of the Sila history and culture to give pride to Gyeongju residents. So a trip to Korea, you have to visit Gyeongju and explore the history from the temples. Even the food was unique there. It was different.
Yeah, it was. One of my other favorite sites that we visited there were the burial mounds.
Yes,
they're the
with
ancient,
the jewelry.
Yes, these beautiful, these ancient burial mounds, one of which has been actually opened and explored, and you can find the contents in the nearby Gyeongju National Museum, which I definitely think is worth a visit. Just some really fascinating bits of ancient Korean history there. So yeah, don't miss out on Gyeongju.
And the Koreans, and just to add to this, Vanessa, Koreans have preserved their history.
Yes, they really have. It's really quite amazing how much attention has been paid to keeping that history alive and accessible to everybody so that they can learn more about it.
Yes.
Okay, and then last but not least, that we're going to talk about today, there's plenty of other places to explore in Korea, but these are just some of the places that we went on our educational trip. We're going to talk a little bit about Jeonju, or about Jeju Island.
Jeju Island.
Jeonju is another place entirely. So this, I think, is just a fantastic destination for outdoor enthusiasts. There's so much hiking, so many outdoor places to see and experience. And I believe there's, Patrice, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's some diving sites as well off the coast.
Yes, there's lots of diving. And also that's Jeju Island. I always sum it up as paradise.
Yeah.
It's, most people say it reminds them of Hawaii. Very
Yes.
Peaceful. Diving, it's the home to women divers, the Henyos, and they dive for seafood off the coast. They go, some of them dive as much as 500 feet deep without any oxygen tanks.
Yeah, it's amazing. And this is a culture that's been going for hundreds of years, really.
Yes.
Yes. And there's a beautiful museum that very small but very educational museum that we visited for the Hanyo women divers, and it taught us a lot about their history and their struggle, and also how their culture has changed over the decades. And it's just a really beautiful place. There's also, I think, estimated at least 100 museums on Jeju Island. And they range from the silly, like the Zippo lighter museum to the
teddy bear museum.
The teddy bear museum, yeah. And then, of course, the more culturally significant ones like the Hanyo Museum. And there's a few history and art museums as well. So much to do here.
And don't forget my favorite, Vanessa, the waterfalls.
The waterfalls. Oh my goodness. They were so gorgeous and so peaceful and beautiful. And yeah, it was a really wonderful destination. And as you said, yeah, like Hawaii, it's a very lush and green and beautiful place. Little hot and humid at the height of summer, I would say.
That is true.
But it's definitely, if you're going in the spring or the fall, you will have an amazing time just hiking and doing lots of walking around and sightseeing. It's a really great place. Now, moving on, we're going to change topics a little bit, and we're going to talk about the health and wellness, or the spa and wellness culture in South Korea. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, Koreans are some of the healthiest and longest living people on planet. So Koreans must be doing something right when it comes to health and wellness.
Exactly.
And, you know, I think we visited some of those hot springs. I mean, in Korea, from traditional hot springs, the oncheons, and the saunas, the jjimjilbang, to incredible luxury resort spas. Wow. I mean, I think we did the jjimjilbang, Vanessa, along with the Sulwhasoo spa.
Yes, so two very, very different experiences there. So for those that don't know, Sulwhasoo is one of the most famous and most high-end luxury skincare brands in South Korea. Absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, wonderful products. And we took a visit to their flagship store, which is absolutely beautiful. It's a very unassuming building on the outside, but inside it's just this construction of glass and metal, and it's sparkling and just feels like this intimate luxury experience. And they showed us around. They showed us a lot of their products and treated us to a little massage, which was after coming off of a long international flight. Man, that was just wonderful. It was a really wonderful experience. We also, in Busan, we went to Centum City, which I believe is the big shopping mall, and that's where
Yes.
Spa Land is located, and that is South Korea's largest spa complex, I think.
That's correct.
That's the Dimjeolbang. It's is it 2 floors? It's 2 floors, I think.
But it's actually the largest in the world, Vanessa.
The largest in the world. Goodness.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. The square footage is out of this world. There's so many treatment rooms. There's hot springs, spa, massage chairs if you don't want to interact with other people, different kinds of saunas of different varying temperatures. And you can, of course, if you're familiar with Korean spa culture, you can definitely get one of those very exfoliating scrub downs from the little spa ladies there. And I believe the entrance fee is it's very minimal, and it covers 4 hours. So you'll definitely want to spend all 4 of those hours.
$12. It's $12 US.
Yeah. So it's really fantastic and very exciting. There was also another really great skincare brand that we experienced while we were there in Jeju called Innisfree, which I'm addicted to now. But they are organic and vegan, and I know that's very important to a lot of our clients. It's a lovely and honestly very inexpensive brand, and it's a way to bring that kind of Korean luxury home with you. I bought a lot of stuff while I was in that shop.
We actually brought back extra bags. We had to.
Yeah. Some of the other ladies on the trip, they had so much stuff that they had to buy an extra bag to take it home with them, which I thought was fantastic. So definitely lots to do if you are a big fan of skincare and health and wellness. And we actually have a sample itinerary on our website if you want to check it out, called the Korean Wellness Itinerary. And it covers a couple of destinations, Seoul and Jeju especially, which allow clients to experience all these wonderful spa treatments and skincare brands firsthand. And then last but not least, my favorite part of South Korea and just Korean culture is the food. So we ate so many different types of traditional Korean food while we were there on our educational trip. And it was just a really fantastic experience because I have, of course, tried some Korean food in the States, but there's not a lot available in the region where I live until recently. So it was really eye-opening experience. Patrice, would you talk to us a little bit about the Buddhist temple cuisine experiences that clients
Okay, yes. And just to add to what you said, the rise of Korean cuisine, especially now in the 21st century, has been a global phenomenon.
Yes, it has.
Right? With any self foodie now expected to know the bibimbap from the bulgogi. But I always say, once you've experienced Korean food here in the US, and once you travel to Korea, the food is so different.
Yes.
It's 10 times tastier.
Absolutely.
So, right. And so the Buddhist temple cuisine, and I think that we got a chance to experience that.
We had a dinner.
Yes, it's the only real vegan option pretty much in South Korea. So throughout Korea, there are the Buddhist temples where you could experience in Seoul, in Busan, in Gyeongju, and experience what it's like. They use the natural ingredients, and you would realize that in Seoul and Busan, the temple stay cuisine is very different but unique.
Yes, absolutely. And what's important, I think, in Buddhist temple cuisine is there's it's vegan. It's very organic and natural. And I think, if I understand correctly, there's not a lot of garlic or spicy things or onions or things like that could be irritating to the digestive system.
Yes.
So it's a unique type of food that I was really excited to get to try. And I really hope that our clients enjoy it as much as I did. But if you're not vegan and vegetarian, there's a lot of other options as well throughout Korea that really stand out. Like you were mentioning, the bulgogi and the bibimbap. I think beef has always been very important to South Korean cuisine. So you'll see those typical Korean barbecue places where they serve you that wonderful marinated bulgogi that's like freshly prepared right there in front of you, and that was a really fun experience to have as well. Down on Jeju Island, there's also the famous Jeju black pork, which is,
and we tried that, didn't we? They
did.
grilled it right in front of us, and it was so tasty.
It really was. It's a particular breed of black pigs that live there only on the Jeju Island, and they're particularly prized for their juicy meat. But as we were saying earlier about the Michelin-starred restaurants, if you are a big foodie and you really want to experience these stunning and just unique dining options, definitely keep us apprised of that information, and we will arrange dinner reservations at basically any restaurant that you have in mind. And I also recommend doing a cooking experience while you're there. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about that cooking experience we had?
We did. We made kimchi, and just so you know that in Korea, everything is served with kimchi. It's a fermented cabbage, but there are over 200 variety of kimchis. Did you know that, Vanessa?
I did, yeah.
And so we experienced cooking kimchi, and you have to, we did kimchi, and we ended up preparing our lunch after, or they prepared lunch for us.
We did. I think we also made bulgogi.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun. It was very interesting to learn about it's a very simple process to prepare it, but it's great to have an experienced Korean chef teach you how to do it, because it could be easy to screw up a little bit. But I really enjoyed making the kimchi. I was a little sad we didn't get to try it, but of course it has to ferment for a few months before it's actually edible. But yeah, as you were saying,
these cooking classes are amazing. It's a must do.
Absolutely. And if you have the time, I would actually recommend devoting kind of, more than half a day to it, so that you can experience going to the market with your chef and picking out fresh ingredients, and then taking those back to the school, preparing them, and then having a really wonderful lunch where you can talk with the chef about their food experiences. And it was really educational and also delicious.
Yeah.
So the last thing that I want to talk about is the Korean wave. And maybe we should have started with this a little bit, but the Korean wave is what the anthropologists, sociologists have decided to call the influence of Korean popular culture on the rest of the world. Kind of started in the 80s, moving into China, and then it has expanded into Japan, and now we're in the 21st century, and every kid under 20 is obsessed with Korean pop music and movies and TV shows. That's at least what it feels like to me.
You're right.
So a lot of you may be already familiar with K-pop, with Korean street fashion and movies like Parasite, which won the Oscar a couple of years ago. It was a really, really stunning film, very, very dramatic and very interesting. There's the different skincare brands, some of which we talked about, but you'll find those at pretty much every skincare store imaginable. And it really has just come to become part of our culture in the rest of the world as well, is it absorbing these Koreanisms, which I think is really great. So for current Downey clients, if you're interested in learning more about Korean popular culture, we can definitely arrange for our guides to include that kind of information in your trip. We can also, if you've got teens or young family members who want to go see different sites where they filmed dramas or K-pop music videos, we can absolutely arrange visits to those places. They're very well documented because I think Korean pop culture is such a huge influence everywhere that even the young Koreans like to go visit these places as well. So it's really easy to find them. And one of the things that I remember on our trip was we visited the Gyeongju Ambassador Incheon Hotel, which I thought was really cool. It's styled like a traditional Korean village, but with these gorgeous luxury suites. And one of them was actually used to film a very famous Korean drama called Goblin several years ago. So we can even arrange for you to stay in that room if you would like to. So yeah, is there anything you'd like to add on that, Patrice?
And especially the heated floors, don't forget that.
Oh my goodness, the ondol, yes. So they have those at that hotel and also at a number of other properties as well. So traditionally in Korea, the floors, most people for centuries slept on the floor on a sort of futon style mattress, and they would have heated floors, which just, if it's a little bit chilly in the morning and your floor is already heated when you get out of bed, my goodness, that's just a really great way to start the day. Yeah, so it's really fantastic. And that's definitely a selling point for that hotel that we were just talking about there in Cheon. All righty, so I'm gonna go on to the last slide, which is gonna have our contact information on it for our clients if they would like to reach out to us. And if there's any questions, maybe Sarah, you could help us answer those for our clients.
I don't see any questions, but so if you have any, please feel free to type them in and we'll get to them. But absolutely. I have decided that I would like to travel to South Korea in April for the Lake Cherry Blossom Festival.
Great. Oh
my God. And eat all the good food. Like that would absolutely. Be the perfect trip. I do want to ask a question from my end. So like what sets South Korea apart as part of the whole continent of Asia? It's so unique and so diverse, but what about South Korea makes it like just, if you, like, let's say you were thinking you wanted to go to Asia and you had a list of places on your list, like one does. Us in the travel business especially have a long list. What would make you say, well, you should definitely choose South Korea over Japan or China or any places like that?
Patrice, do you want to answer that?
Okay, I'll start and I'll let you finish, Vanessa, because it's such a good job presenting Korea.
Oh, thank you.
But besides the fact that we have over 50 million friendly people to welcome you, the food throughout Korea, the food is unique to its own city. So Seoul, the food is different. Busan is a different type of food. Gyeongju, and then Jeju Island. The history, of course, all Asian countries have amazing history, but the history, Korea has preserved its history. You will not be disappointed. And one of my favorite places, Jeju Island. It is such a peaceful. We're so busy. We are always going here in the US. We never get a chance to relax. You travel to Korea, whether it's Jeju Island or spa in Seoul, you'll be taken away and you'll always want to go back. There's just something unique about Korea that makes you want to go back. Vanessa, what else can you add?
Absolutely. I definitely agree that the people are one of the main drawing points. I've never experienced the people that were just so genuinely warm and friendly. And there's also another little thing I'll point out as in comparison to Japan, for example, the price point for Korea is a little bit less than Japan. And that makes it very, very attractive because it means you can spend more time there and do more things. So if you are looking for a really amazing, culturally significant place to visit, I definitely recommend South Korea.
Well, and it sounds like, you know, the phrase, like, I need a vacation from my vacation. Like, it sounds like you could take your vacation and then go to Jeju Island and have your vacation from your vacation.
Absolutely.
And feel totally refreshed when you come home.
Summary.
Not like jet lag, like I usually am. Okay, so we do have a question. Is it expensive in Korea? You kind of touched on that a little bit, Vanessa, but can you go a little bit more into detail about,
it is.
We know like if you travel to the UK, it's going to be like exorbitantly more expensive. So can you speak about it in terms of that, like us coming from the United States?
Coming from the United States, it may be a little bit more expensive than you're used to in certain areas, but that doesn't mean that the destination as a whole is going to suck all the money out of your wallet. There's definitely lots of things to do and experience in Korea that are not exorbitantly priced. And I think it's actually a really good destination if you're a little bit more budget conscious. So yeah, for sure.
Great. Okay, do we have any more questions? Okay. Let me just say that was amazing. Like every time I get on a webinar that I've never been to the destination and it's not even on my travel radar, I'm like, okay, that's got to move to my top 5, you know, because I get so like inspired. It's amazing how different these little countries can be from one another. So I really appreciate you coming on. I just want to remind everyone that we have just released our most recent issue of Quest. And it is online. So you can go to our website at www.herdowney.com. And then on that main page will be a link to our Quest website. And it is beautiful. When I looked at it for the first time, it was like I was taking a trip to Korea. And it just inspired me even more. So I highly recommend you check that out. Obviously, if you have any questions, Vanessa, Patrice, any one of our designers at Downey can answer your questions. We would love to talk more about it with you. So please feel free. You can, contact us any of the 3 ways that we have listed above. And that is all we have. Obviously, we thank you for joining us. Be sure to keep in touch with us because we have some exciting things on the horizon. So we appreciate your time. Thank you all. Thank you, Patrice.
감사합니다.
감사합니다. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
You too. Bye.